When you have conversations at home or at work or talking to people trying to run our society, it just feels like we don't have the leaders we need today, right? Clearly, there's things we've always had to be able to do, which is we have to have natural curiosity, we have to have empathy, we have to have the willingness to sort of take action. But in some ways, as we thought about that challenge in the world we're in today and we're grappling with tomorrow, it feels like there are 6 paradoxes that are requisites for any leader. The reason they exist as paradoxes is that we find ourselves in a place where you have to do things really quickly, but you got to make sure you're doing them right because the world's coming at you fast, but actually it's massively different. You have to gain the credibility to be effective, to be able to actually be able to take strategic action. The world's fracturing, and because the world's fracturing, we find ourselves in a circumstance where we actually have to be incredibly focused on what's happening in our own country, in our own states or provinces, in our own cities and our own villages. But we need people who can actually effectively understand the larger world of which we're a part, but be able to bring that down to the most local environment they live in. That's an unusual challenge. In the world we live in today, there are many more constituents than we used to have. There are many more points of view we have to bring to bear, and we have to bring them to bear faster. The problem is, if you spend all your time focusing on the sheer purpose of why you're doing it, and you insist on that, the risk is people won't come with you. And so it's more difficult than ever to bring the essence of what we're trying to achieve to bear with the agreements required to make it happen, because they happen faster, they happen with more people, and they happen in a much more complex environment. In times of uncertainty, in times of ambiguity, in times of complexity, people need someone to step up. They need people to actually lead. They need people to actually take action. So at the same time, to be able to step up and get people to sort of follow them, they actually have to be able to say, I'm not sure we're right. And it requires a person who is both convincing and humble. Both because they're humble enough to admit that they could be wrong and therefore learn, but they're humble enough to also bring other people's opinions to bear on the ways in which they lead. So they coalesce a set of ideas, which then brings people with them, which is why they're willing to say, I don't know if this is right, but it's the best we got. And pretty challenging task. If you're not able to execute, you won't have the permission to strategize. If you don't strategize, you're going to go the wrong place. And so we need to be able to meld 2 things that seem disparate from each other in the same human being or combination of people. We live in a world which is increasingly technical and increasingly complex as a result, meaning more uncertain, more challenging, where actually the technology is beginning to impinge on who we are. It's changing how we decide, it's changing how we interact with each other, it's changing the ways our countries work and our companies work. But actually get enough of what's going on in the technology that they actually know what's really happening. We have to have people who understand that technology deeply, can write code, can envision complex systems, but actually understand the unintended consequences of that technology. If we can't create people who have those capabilities together, we will be creating a world that we don't know what it's going to become, and we probably won't like it. If we just innovate and change and engage in the dynamism that the world expects of us, the risk is we bring nothing with us. But actually, we have an installed base. In every country, there's a set of traditions. In every company, there's a set of assets. In every family, there's a set of sort of traditions and norms. If we leave those behind, we're hollow. We don't actually bring strengths to the party, right? Might as well go greenfield. But actually, if we allow them to constrain us from making the changes we have to, we're dead in the water. So what we have to figure out how to do is take the things that are unique and special about us and craft them in a way that resonates with the future.